Each person reaches a point where something inside them refuses to continue living as before. The reflection in the mirror begins to feel outdated, unworthy of what the mind envisions. There's a quiet recognition that comfort has become a cage, that the same routines, the same people, the same distractions have dulled what was once sharp. In that moment, something ancient stirs, the instinct to rebuild. Not to improve slightly, but to become someone so disciplined, so composed, so unshakably focused, that even the past version of the self would not recognize what stands now in its place. This transformation will not only change the way you see yourself, but the world will see you different, but only if you follow the lessons in this video closely. The habits that weakened you, the noise that stole your focus, the comfort that disguised decay, all must go. This path is brutal in its honesty, but clean in its result. You will not find motivation here. You will find command. You will learn what it means to live without dependence, to build a mind that cannot be bent by opinion, and a body that obeys reason over desire. If you are tired of chasing the same fleeting bursts of progress, listen closely. The process you are about to hear will not simply improve your life. It will erase everything that kept you ordinary. It will teach you to think, move, and act like someone who has nothing left to prove. Someone who is becoming unrecognizable to the world that once knew them. Let's begin. Each person reaches a moment when the reflection in the mirror no longer matches the image carried in the mind. The features may be the same, the name unchanged, but the posture, the presence, the way of seeing the world, all begin to shift. This change is not cosmetic. It is a quiet severance from everything that once kept the individual predictable. To become unrecognizable is to walk away from the version that accepted stagnation. It is to withdraw into stillness long enough to rebuild the structure of one's mind. The Stoic knows that transformation is not about gain, but about removal. The unnecessary is stripped away until only the essential remains. The process begins with solitude. The modern world glorifies noise, connection, and constant validation. Yet, growth demands disconnection. Isolation becomes the forge where a person learns to exist without external reinforcement. When the voice of the crowd fades, the only sound left is the truth of one's own thinking. In solitude, the Stoic rebuilds their mental order, teaching the mind to respond, not react. Each thought is examined like a soldier inspecting armor. Weakness is repaired, indulgence is discarded, and clarity becomes a weapon. Discipline follows. Without discipline, solitude becomes decay. The mind must be guided with strict precision. Wake, train, read, think, reflect. Each act must have weight. The individual no longer drifts through hours. Time becomes measured in completed tasks, not in minutes. The Stoic structures their day with intention, morning silence before the world intrudes, labor performed with full attention, reflection when darkness falls. This rhythm turns chaos into cadence. The mind begins to obey itself. When discipline hardens, perception changes. The same environment that once felt suffocating now becomes a training ground. The obstacles that once triggered anger are reclassified as exercises. Every inconvenience becomes an opportunity to demonstrate control. The Stoic no longer complains about circumstances because they have become the circumstance. The difference is internal command. Life bends around their response. Detachment becomes a central weapon. To become unrecognizable, a person must detach from comfort, identity, and approval. Attachment makes the self fragile. When an outcome defines worth, failure becomes a threat. The Stoic removes these hooks. Whether fortune smiles or turns away, composure stays constant. This is not indifference. It is the refusal to be owned by anything outside the will. When praise arrives, it is accepted without dependence. When loss comes, it is absorbed without collapse. Each day, the individual becomes less defined by others and more defined by principles. They learn to make decisions without needing reassurance. They train their emotions to align with reason. They begin to carry themselves differently. Measured steps, calm eyes, silence where once there was explanation. The people who knew them before notice the difference but cannot name it. This is the mark of transformation, a shift that cannot be faked or reversed. The external results arrive slowly but unmistakably. The body strengthens because the mind commands it. Habits align with vision. The tone of speech changes. Small talk fades into substance. Energy stops scattering into distraction. Purpose condenses into a single line of movement. The Stoic does not chase motivation. They operate on internal order. What once required effort becomes instinct. This transformation isolates further. Many cannot understand the new posture because it exposes their own instability. The Stoic accepts this distance. Loneliness turns into space. The loss of connection becomes the gain of sovereignty. They do not explain their change. They simply continue to rise in silence. The unrecognizable individual carries a different presence. They do not announce improvement. They live it. The old self becomes a story told by others, not a shadow that follows. When confronted with past habits or temptations, they do not negotiate, they observe. The reaction is gone. In its place is a simple decision: remain in command. To sustain this, the Stoic integrates reflection into the daily system. At night, the mind is reviewed. Every failure, every success, every emotion is studied. This practice sharpens self-awareness. The next morning begins cleaner. The mental clutter of yesterday does not enter the new day. Over weeks, the internal architecture becomes fortified. The Stoic's thoughts move like disciplined troops, precise, silent, coordinated. Physical discipline mirrors this internal transformation. Training the body becomes the physical proof of order. Each repetition, each controlled breath, becomes an act of philosophy. Pain is not resisted, it is used. Fatigue becomes the testing ground for endurance. The individual learns that the body, like the mind, obeys structure. The daily routine turns into a temple of consistency. The physical form reflects the invisible will. The diet, the environment, and the associations are all restructured. Consumption becomes selective. Only what strengthens remains. The individual no longer feeds impulses, they feed stability. Entertainment shifts to education, rest shifts to recovery, and every habit serves a single principle: alignment. This alignment produces clarity. The Stoic's thoughts are not scattered by anxiety or comparison. Focus becomes a constant. The mind, once reactive, becomes predictive. It anticipates difficulty and prepares in silence. This anticipation is not worry, it is readiness. The world's uncertainty loses power because the Stoic has already trained for it internally. In this posture, the individual becomes unrecognizable to those who remain driven by distraction. Their calm appears unnatural, their restraint intimidating. They do not chase trends or engage in emotional debates. They move through chaos as if it were structured. This is the power of internal discipline, the ability to remain unshaken while everything around shifts. Over months, this steady transformation creates separation. The person no longer lives at the same frequency as before. Their environment begins to change without conscious effort. They attract order because they emanate it. People feel the gravity of their presence, the quiet certainty that cannot be imitated. The unrecognizable person is not defined by appearance but by energy, calm, precise, grounded. This change is irreversible because it is not dependent on mood or motivation. It is built through repetition. Every act of discipline reinforces identity. Every act of restraint builds strength. Every act of solitude clarifies direction. This is how permanence is created, through thousands of invisible victories. To become unrecognizable is not a pursuit of status. It is a private revolution. The Stoic learns to live with fewer words and stronger principles. They stop explaining and start demonstrating. Their worth is measured by internal order, not external approval. In a world addicted to display, their silence becomes power. The transformation reaches its full form when detachment no longer feels like loss. The individual finds peace in control and freedom in restraint. They no longer seek escape from responsibility. They carry it easily because they are aligned. The mind, body, and will move as one. This state cannot be gifted or inherited. It must be built day by day through the consistent rejection of weakness. The Stoic recognizes that every indulgence has a cost, and every act of discipline builds capital. Each decision compounds into strength or decay. The unrecognizable individual invests in strength. There is a simplicity in this life. The Stoic wakes, acts, reflects, and rests. They carry no confusion about purpose. Each day is an opportunity to demonstrate mastery. They do not rush progress because they know the process is infinite. Perfection is not the goal. Control is. Control is achieved by mastering response. Every situation becomes an examination of will. Anger, fear, temptation, all are signals to return to center. The unrecognizable person no longer reacts instinctively. They act deliberately. This separates them from the impulsive majority. Their calm is not absence of emotion, but command of it. The greatest proof of this transformation is composure under pressure. When circumstances collapse, they remain steady. When insulted, they remain clear. When faced with uncertainty, they remain strategic. This consistency creates power. Others guess. They decide. Their relationships evolve. They no longer seek validation through approval. They seek resonance through shared principles. Conversation shifts from gossip to growth. Interaction becomes intentional. They do not compete for attention. They compete with their previous limitations. Material gain, if it arrives, is treated as a byproduct of order. Wealth, recognition, and influence are not rejected, but contained. The Stoic handles success the same way they handle struggle, with composure. The external world cannot dictate internal stability. Their days become simple but exact. Each action serves a function. The calendar reflects discipline, not confusion. Sleep, work, study, movement, each is placed with precision. Routine is not a prison, but a framework of freedom. In predictability, creativity flourishes. In structure, peace emerges. The old version of the self fades quietly. It is not buried with ceremony. It dissolves through disuse. The patterns that sustained weakness no longer fit. The mind stops seeking shortcuts. The heart stops negotiating with comfort. The will takes full command. The Stoic becomes self-contained. They no longer need motivation to act. They move from principle, not emotion. When the world slows, they continue. When others hesitate, they execute. This reliability builds trust in self, in process, in purpose. As the transformation matures, the Stoic's life becomes marked by presence. They listen fully, speak intentionally, and move decisively. Their time carries value because their attention is scarce. People recognize the shift but cannot replicate it because it was built through invisible labor. This invisibility protects the transformation. The Stoic does not need to defend their evolution. They remain unreachable by comparison. Their worth is internal. When challenged, they do not argue. They demonstrate through results. The proof is in their calm. This calm is not passivity, it is readiness. The unrecognizable person carries energy that can engage or withdraw instantly. They are prepared for action yet comfortable in stillness. Their power lies in control, not in display. The foundation of this state is simplicity. Do what strengthens, avoid what weakens. The rules never change. Complexity fades when clarity governs. The Stoic no longer negotiates with distraction or indulgence. They live by structure, not impulse. Each morning reinforces the identity. Rising early, confronting cold, embracing discipline. These are not rituals of suffering, but declarations of control. Each day begins with a decision, to remain aligned or to drift. The unrecognizable individual chooses alignment without hesitation. They understand that transformation has no audience. It happens quietly, in repetition, in restraint, in solitude. The reward is not applause, it is stability. Their peace cannot be taken because it is not borrowed. It was built. By living this way, the Stoic no longer fits into the patterns of the average. They outgrow complaint, excuse, and dependency. Their focus becomes rare, their energy concentrated. To those who knew them before, they appear distant. To those who meet them now, they appear grounded. Both are correct. The unrecognizable person embodies clarity. They know what to do and when to do it. They speak less because their direction speaks for them. Each action aligns with their principles. This alignment is the signature of mastery. Mastery, once achieved, is not celebrated. It is maintained. The Stoic continues the process without indulgence. There is no finish line. Each day begins again. The strength lies in continuity. In solitude, the Stoic begins to recognize that isolation is not absence, but concentration. It removes the friction of noise and allows the mind to see itself clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This retreat is not escape from life, it is preparation for it. The individual steps away from distraction to train perception, to build internal dialogue that does not depend on external approval. When solitude is embraced with discipline, it ceases to be loneliness. Loneliness is the hunger for validation. Solitude is the nourishment of strength. Seneca wrote, "If you are lonely when you are alone, you are in bad company." The Stoic uses these quiet hours to strengthen the relationship with the self. Thoughts are not avoided, they are examined. In the silence, illusions lose their hold. What remains is truth, often uncomfortable, but clean. Isolation strips away performance. Without an audience, the person no longer acts. They exist. The Stoic sees that identity built on reaction is fragile. In solitude, identity becomes deliberate. Habits are tested for integrity. Beliefs are evaluated for truth. Each moment alone becomes a mirror reflecting the degree of alignment between principle and behavior. Discipline gives solitude structure. The untrained mind will drift, inventing noise even in silence. To counter this, the Stoic sets clear parameters. Wake with purpose, move the body, quiet the mind, read with focus, and close each day with reflection. These are the cornerstones of sovereign living. Solitude without structure decays into emptiness, but solitude with order becomes creation. Through disciplined solitude, perception deepens. The individual begins to see patterns previously obscured by distraction. Marcus Aurelius advised, If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. In silence, this truth becomes evident. The external world loses its ability to dictate internal state. The Stoic realizes that the source of disturbance is not circumstance, but interpretation. Clarity grows from stillness. The modern person fears silence because it confronts them with the unedited mind. The Stoic seeks it because it refines the mind. Within the quiet, they meet their weaknesses face to face and train response through reflection. Each moment of discomfort becomes instruction. This is where resilience forms, not in reaction, but in deliberate confrontation with self. As solitude lengthens, external validation becomes irrelevant. The need for approval fades because the Stoic learns to evaluate themselves through principle, not praise. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." In solitude, courage is measured not by action before others, but by the honesty of one's own thought. Freedom is no longer a social condition, it becomes a mental discipline. Solitude also trains endurance. Long periods without distraction expose the mind's restlessness. The Stoic endures this restlessness until it dissolves. When silence stops feeling empty, peace begins. This peace is not fragile. It is forged through repetition. It cannot be broken by noise because it was built without it. In this stillness, creativity and reason coexist. The mind, freed from interruption, begins to connect ideas with clarity. The Stoics' thinking becomes architectural, structured, strong, intentional. They see life as a system of principles rather than a sequence of accidents. Each choice becomes a stone laid with precision. Physical solitude mirrors internal clarity. Time alone in nature or silence reinforces scale and humility. Epictetus reminded, "If you wish to be a writer, write. If you wish to be strong, train." The Stoic applies this truth. Solitude without action is meditation. Solitude with disciplined action is transformation. The unrecognizable person does not emerge from crowds. They emerge from quiet labor unseen by others. The retreat into solitude becomes the foundation for command in public life. When they re-enter society, their energy feels heavier, more anchored. The chaos of others no longer enters them because their boundaries were built in silence. True solitude removes dependency on the calendar, the clock, and the constant movement of others. The Stoic measures days by what was built within. They understand Seneca's warning. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Time spent alone in mastery is never wasted. It compounds into confidence that does not waver when the world shifts. Every individual who seeks to become unrecognizable must endure this solitude. It is not punishment, it is purification. The absence of noise becomes the presence of focus. The absence of validation becomes the presence of power. The absence of comfort becomes the presence of clarity. Through solitude, the Stoic does not vanish from the world. They return to it sharper, quieter, and stronger. This solitude becomes permanent in effect, even when it ends in practice. The Stoic may walk among people, speak in markets, lead in crowds, but internally they remain alone in the best sense. Self-contained, undisturbed, sovereign. Their mind is their fortress, their discipline the walls, their principles the guards. Nothing enters without permission. To the outside world, this composure appears mysterious. To the Stoic, it is simply the result of consistent silence and structure. They do not seek to impress, they seek to remain aligned. The strength others admire is not new. It is the natural state uncovered when distraction is removed. Solitude revealed what was always there. Through this process, the person becomes unrecognizable not because they changed appearance, but because they removed dependence. They no longer reach outward for peace, they generate it. The eyes that once searched for reassurance now observe with calm certainty. The hands that once reached for approval now move with purpose. Every motion originates from inner stillness. In solitude, the Stoic becomes both student and teacher of themselves. The mind is observed, corrected, and commanded. The heart learns discipline, the will learns patience. From this triad, composure emerges, the rare state where nothing internal betrays the external. The person becomes an instrument of their own principle. When solitude has done its work, the individual re-enters the world carrying invisible armor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The Stoic does not describe their transformation, they live it. Their silence communicates what words cannot. The unrecognizable person walks through noise untouched by it, having mastered the most difficult art, to be alone without being lost. Discipline under fatigue reveals the truth of mastery. Anyone can act with precision when rested, but the Stoic measures control when strength fades. Fatigue exposes weakness faster than conflict. It strips the mind of comfort and reveals whether discipline is habit or illusion. When the body demands rest and the mind seeks escape, the will either commands or collapses. The unrecognizable person is defined by this command. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." In exhaustion, this principle becomes practical law. The Stoic does not seek pity or permission. They treat fatigue as another form of resistance training, mental, physical, and moral. Each repetition under strain fortifies endurance. Every moment of persistence teaches the body to obey the mind, and the mind to obey reason. Discipline under fatigue is not about pushing recklessly. It is about maintaining precision when energy fades. To the Stoic, excellence is consistency. Fatigue becomes the audit of one's systems. If focus disintegrates, the structure was weak. If emotions erupt, the foundation was unstable. The Stoic uses these moments to refine rather than retreat. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we are given a short life, but we make it short, and we are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it." Fatigue wastes nothing for the disciplined. It compresses time, turning each moment into test and training. In this state, the Stoic simplifies. No indulgence, no unnecessary motion, only what serves the mission. The tired mind learns efficiency. When exhaustion arrives, most lose rhythm. The Stoic sharpens it. Fatigue demands deliberate breathing, slower movement, cleaner thought. Every act is executed without excess. This control under depletion is what separates endurance from survival. Anyone can perform when full of energy. Few can execute with grace when depleted. The Stoic learns to do both. Fatigue also humbles. It dissolves pride and removes the illusion of invincibility. Epictetus taught, "Difficulties show what men are." Under fatigue, the Stoic studies their own reactions. Irritation, doubt, and hesitation all surface. Rather than resist, they observe. Observation turns discomfort into instruction. Each time they endure without breaking, the line between discipline and identity blurs further. Physical fatigue trains the mind. Mental fatigue tests the spirit. When both align, transformation occurs. The Stoic finds peace not in rest, but in control. They rest with purpose, not avoidance. Sleep, recovery, and silence are treated as extensions of labor. Restoration becomes part of discipline, not an escape from it. This practice builds resilience that no circumstance can mimic. The unrecognizable individual carries a quiet strength, born from exhaustion, survived without complaint. Their movements slow but remain precise. Their eyes stay steady. Their words stay few. Fatigue becomes the crucible of composure. In modern life, fatigue is often treated as failure. The Stoic sees it as feedback. When tiredness speaks, they listen. It reveals inefficiencies, wasted effort, weak priorities. The Stoic adjusts systems, not emotions. They refine processes until fatigue no longer signals collapse, but completion. Discipline under fatigue builds an aura of permanence. Those who operate from emotion fade when energy fades. Those who operate from order endure regardless of state. The Stoic transforms fatigue into an ally, a constant teacher, reminding them that command is not comfort, but consistency. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Fatigue is an outside event within." The Stoic reframes it as signal, not obstacle. Through this reframing, they learn to act with the same clarity at the end of the day as they did at dawn. Every hour carries the same standard. When discipline persists through fatigue, life becomes linear and dependable. There is no variance between energy and output. The Stoic trusts themselves because they have seen their will function under pressure. Their word becomes reliable. Their presence becomes steady. They no longer rely on motivation to perform. They rely on identity. Fatigue also teaches proportion. Not every battle deserves the same expenditure of force. The Stoic learns to allocate energy like a strategist, reserving effort for what matters most. They do not scatter themselves across distractions. Each motion, each thought, each word must justify its cost. Endurance is not blind repetition. It is intelligent persistence. The Stoic evaluates constantly, is this act worthy of energy? Is this struggle aligned with principle? Fatigue sharpens discernment. Through it, the person becomes efficient, not only in action, but in purpose. When fatigue finally breaks the undisciplined, the Stoic continues, not out of stubbornness, but clarity. They understand that the body is a servant, not a master. The body may weaken, but the command remains intact. Seneca observed, "To bear trials with a calm mind robs misfortune of its strength and burden." The same law applies to exhaustion. Discipline under fatigue creates unshakable calm. When chaos rises, the Stoic moves as they always do, measured, precise, deliberate. No urgency, no panic, no collapse. The environment might tire them, but never break them. Fatigue, once feared, becomes proof of progress. This resilience radiates in presence. Those who see them cannot define the difference, but they feel it. It is the steadiness of someone who has worked past limits repeatedly without losing control. The unrecognizable person embodies balance under strain. They are proof that mastery is not strength at its peak, but strength that remains when nothing is left. Through fatigue, the Stoic becomes efficient in everything: speech, thought, movement, response. Life simplifies to what is essential. They waste nothing, want nothing, and fear nothing. The lesson of exhaustion is permanence. Only what is built on discipline survives depletion. When energy fades and the world expects retreat, the Stoic stands firm. The face remains calm, the breathing controlled, the decisions sharp. This is command in its purest form. Fatigue no longer represents weakness. It represents refinement. Through it, the Stoic becomes unrecognizable, not because they conquered exhaustion, but because they learned to operate through it without loss of integrity. Detachment is the highest form of strength. It is not a withdrawal from life, but mastery within it. The Stoic understands that control begins when attachment ends. to be unshaken by gain or loss, by praise or insult, by comfort or hardship. This is the true definition of power. The ordinary person is owned by their reactions. The Stoic owns them. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means seeing the world clearly without distortion. It means acting with precision instead of emotion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you will not feel harmed." The Stoic applies this to every arena of life. They do not wait for fairness, they prepare for reality. Detachment sharpens vision because it removes the fog of preference. The moment one accepts what is, strategy begins. Attachment breeds weakness. The need to be liked enslaves. The need to win every battle blinds. The need to be understood wastes energy. The Stoic cuts these ties with the precision of a surgeon. They do not surrender care, they remove dependency. Their peace no longer relies on outcome. Success and failure carry equal weight. Both are tests of stability. In the arena of thought, detachment is freedom from emotional bias. The Stoic examines each event through logic. When insulted, they ask, "Does this alter my virtue?" When defeated, they ask, "Does this remove my capacity for discipline?" When betrayed, they ask, "Does this change who I am capable of being?" If the answer is no, there is no reason to fall. Detachment converts pain into data. Epictetus wrote, "It is not things themselves that disturb men, but their judgments about things." The Stoic studies their judgments relentlessly. Every opinion becomes an opportunity for refinement. Emotion is allowed to exist, but not to lead. The mind observes the wave without being carried by it. Detachment transforms reaction into response. In the physical world, detachment is control of desire. The Stoic trains the senses to obey principle. Pleasure is not evil, but dependence on it is slavery. The unrecognizable individual understands that luxury dulls instinct. They can enjoy comfort without being owned by it. When fortune shifts, their foundation remains unmoved because they never built identity on circumstance. Detachment in action appears as calm under provocation. The Stoic responds without haste. They move with economy, no wasted words, no unnecessary defense. Their silence carries weight because it is chosen. They engage only when engagement serves principle. Detachment becomes a filter that removes weakness before it enters the mind. In relationships, detachment protects peace. The Stoic gives loyalty without surrender. They love without losing independence. They care deeply, but not desperately. Seneca advised, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." The Stoic does not anticipate loss with fear. They accept it as part of nature. Affection is real, but it is not control. Detachment allows love to be pure because it is free. The mind trained in detachment sees betrayal, failure, and rejection as natural movements of fortune. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This is not cynicism. It is preparation. Detachment from expectation prevents shock. The Stoic walks through chaos already aware of its presence. Detachment as a weapon removes emotional leverage. No one can manipulate what cannot be provoked. Insults become empty. Praise loses its hold. The Stoic cannot be bribed by flattery or crippled by disapproval. This neutrality terrifies those who rely on reaction to feel control. The detached individual becomes an unpredictable opponent and an immovable ally. Detachment from outcomes clarifies execution. The Stoic focuses entirely on process. Victory and defeat are both secondary to mastery. When others panic about results, the Stoic measures form. They aim to act impeccably regardless of circumstance. The result does not define worth. The action defines identity. Philosophically, detachment aligns with acceptance of fate. Amor fati. To love fate is to love necessity. The Stoic does not resist reality, they absorb it. Every event becomes raw material for virtue. When fortune withdraws comfort, discipline fills the gap. When fate removes advantage, creativity replaces it. Detachment transforms adversity into material for greatness. Psychologically, detachment quiets noise. The mind no longer swings between extremes. Praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain, all are filtered through the same question. Does this strengthen or weaken my state of command? The answer determines the response, nothing else. This simplicity produces serenity that others mistake for indifference. Tactically, detachment is superior awareness. A detached person sees the field without bias. They are not attached to winning this moment. They are committed to winning overall. They can retreat strategically without pride and strike without hesitation. Emotion does not cloud judgment. Detachment makes the Stoic dangerous, not through aggression, but through precision. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." Detachment is that delay, the gap between stimulus and response where reason intervenes. In that space, the Stoic chooses posture over impulse. They do not waste strength on outrage. They store it for action. Their stillness is not inactivity, it is calculation. Detachment also refines ambition. The Stoic still pursues mastery, success, and legacy, but without obsession. They work with full effort and zero desperation. If the result comes, it is accepted with composure. If it does not, the process remains intact. Detachment turns ambition into discipline. In solitude, detachment matures. Away from influence, the Stoic learns what they truly value. The noise of approval fades, revealing the sound of conscience. The unrecognizable person listens to this voice only. Detachment from others' opinions builds the immunity required for independence. Detachment from possessions brings lightness. Wealth is managed, not worshipped. Comfort is used, not relied upon. When stripped of status, the Stoic remains whole because their worth was never stored externally. They can lose everything and still operate with precision. That is sovereignty. Detachment from comfort sharpens awareness. When warmth, convenience, or rest are removed, clarity returns. The Stoic practices voluntary discomfort, cold exposure, fasting, silence, not as punishment but as reminder. Power comes from endurance, not indulgence. Each act of denial fortifies the will. Detachment from opinion protects inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." The Stoic filters perception through principle. They do not internalize gossip, trends, or emotional contagion. Their peace is self-generated. This detachment extends to time. The Stoic does not chase the future or cling to the past. They act in the present with full engagement and let outcomes unfold. This posture turns existence into practice. There is no waiting for peace. Peace is created in motion. Detachment makes endurance sustainable. Without emotional dependence, fatigue loses its sting. Pain becomes information. Failure becomes feedback. The Stoic can repeat effort endlessly because their identity is not tied to immediate reward. Their reward is control. In social environments, detachment prevents corruption. Influence, power, and attention test character. The Stoic holds ground. They remember Epictetus's warning, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Detachment keeps humility alive within authority. The higher the position, the greater the need for distance from ego. The unrecognizable person carries detachment in their demeanor. They speak rarely, act precisely, and project quiet certainty. They no longer need to defend themselves because they have nothing to prove. Their value is internal, verified by conduct, not by noise. This detachment radiates strength because it signals independence. Detachment also refines relationships. The Stoic treats each connection as voluntary, not required. They give fully, but without dependency. If the bond remains, gratitude follows. If it ends, composure remains. This balance creates loyalty without possession. In adversity, detachment becomes armor. When accused, the Stoic listens without collapse. When misunderstood, they remain calm. When blamed unjustly, they hold truth quietly. Their composure dismantles conflict before it begins. This is not passivity, it is superior control. Detachment neutralizes fear. The Stoic accepts the inevitability of loss, change, and death. Once these are accepted, fear loses ground. Life becomes cleaner. Each moment is lived as if borrowed, and therefore fully. Death itself becomes part of the system, not an interruption of it. Through detachment, energy consolidates. No emotion is wasted on defense or justification. Focus remains locked on execution. The Stoic saves strength for creation, strategy, and endurance. Emotional economy becomes a form of wealth. The detached individual moves through success without arrogance and through failure without despair. Their confidence comes from preparation, not circumstance. They remain level because they never climbed emotionally in the first place. Stability replaces excitement. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A cucumber is bitter, then throw it away. There are brambles in the path, then go around them." Detachment is the ability to act simply without dramatizing reality. The Stoic cuts through complication with decision. Action replaces emotion. To become unrecognizable, detachment must reach instinct. It cannot remain theory. It must govern reaction, speech, and posture. The individual who achieves this state becomes unreadable to manipulation and immune to emotional disturbance. They act cleanly, they feel deeply, but they are ruled by reason. This form of detachment is not isolation from humanity, but elevation within it. The Stoic still contributes, still serves, still engages, but without losing center. They can hold power without arrogance, loss without collapse, love without control, and solitude without loneliness. In its highest form, detachment becomes serenity in motion. It allows the Stoic to move through a chaotic world with surgical calm. Every decision is made from equilibrium, every response measured by reason. Nothing external dictates internal stability. This is invulnerability earned through awareness. Detachment, once mastered, does not end empathy. It perfects it. The Stoic helps others without losing themselves. They see suffering without being consumed by it. Their steadiness gives others a model of strength. They lead by composure, not noise. This composure becomes presence. The detached individual walks into any room and changes its temperature. They bring gravity, not drama. Their silence speaks authority because it is free from need. That is what makes them unrecognizable. The shift from emotional reaction to deliberate existence. Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Detachment is freedom multiplied by courage. It is the condition of the individual who can stand within chaos and remain unchanged. To live this way is not to withdraw from life, but to dominate it through stillness. This is detachment as a weapon, invisible, quiet, absolute. It destroys dependency, protects focus, and transforms suffering into command. The Stoic who wields it does not chase peace, they embody it. Speech is the bridge between thought and the world. It reveals the structure of the mind. The Stoic understands that words are not decoration. They are precision instruments. A wise person does not speak to impress, but to clarify. They do not speak to fill silence, but to refine it. Every word is an act of construction or destruction. To master speech is to master the delivery of reason. The Stoic studies silence first. Only through silence does one hear thought clearly. Epictetus said, "Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words." In this restraint, speech gains weight. The person who speaks rarely but with substance commands attention without demand. Their words carry gravity because they are born from stillness, not reaction. To improve speech, the Stoic begins with observation. Most conversation is noise, a sequence of unexamined phrases repeated from habit. The wise individual listens longer than they talk. They analyze the tone, intent, and structure of others' language. They observe how emotion distorts meaning, how haste weakens clarity, and how silence often reveals more than speech. Each observation becomes a lesson in articulation. Language reveals order. The disorganized mind cannot produce coherent speech. To become articulate, one must first discipline thought. The Stoic trains the intellect to build sentences with the same precision used to build systems. Each idea must stand on logic. Each statement must rest on truth. The mouth should never move faster than the mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are ever tempted to look for approval, be sure that you have approved yourself first." The same law applies to speech. Before speaking, the Stoic tests the intention. Is it driven by ego or guided by reason? Is it necessary or indulgent? Is it truth or impulse? If it does not meet these standards, silence prevails. This habit forges dignity. To speak wisely, one must eliminate exaggeration. Hyperbole weakens credibility. The Stoic chooses exact words. They describe events as they are, not as they wish them to be. Emotion may color expression, but it never distorts accuracy. This practice trains the mind to separate perception from projection. Critical thinking strengthens expression. The Stoic questions assumptions before uttering conclusions. They ask, "What do I know? What do I believe? What can I verify?" This process slows speech, forcing logic to precede articulation. Through this discipline, they avoid foolish statements and careless promises. Their words become rare, but when spoken, they carry finality. The wise speaker measures tone as much as content. Harsh truth delivered without restraint creates resistance. Soft deceit creates confusion. The Stoic uses tone as a scalpel, not a hammer. Each word is designed to heal ignorance, not to wound pride. This restraint requires patience and awareness, virtues cultivated through daily reflection. Seneca wrote, "Speech that's well-framed is the mirror of a well-ordered mind." The Stoic refines language as a craftsman sharpens a blade. Reading, reflection, and journaling polish precision. The mind collects principles, the voice expresses them. Over time, the distance between thought and speech disappears. The individual speaks as they think, and they think with clarity. Silence is not emptiness, it is calibration. When one learns to sit with silence, the need for validation dissolves. The wise person does not rush to respond. They allow space between question and answer, emotion and reaction. That pause is the birthplace of intelligence. Every delay refines the eventual statement. The Stoic understands that wisdom in speech is measured not by quantity, but by quality. To speak only when necessary is to conserve energy for action. Excessive talk drains focus and exposes ignorance. When speech is disciplined, attention deepens. When attention deepens, intellect sharpens. The unrecognizable individual speaks with precision that others interpret as confidence. Yet, it is not confidence, it is clarity. Each phrase serves a purpose. They never explain what silence already proves. Their sentences end cleanly, without filler, without apology. This economy of language creates authority without effort. The Stoic avoids gossip, complaint, and idle speculation. These forms of speech corrode integrity. They feed vanity and waste thought. Instead, the Stoic speaks to instruct, to solve, or to strengthen. Their voice becomes a tool for order, not entertainment. They are remembered not for how much they said, but for how cleanly they said it. In conversation, the wise speaker listens to understand, not to reply. They analyze the intent behind words. Most people listen to defend. The Stoic listens to discern. This difference transforms dialogue into education. Through listening, they learn the limits of others' reasoning and the nature of their own patience. Critical thinking is the foundation of wise speech. The Stoic questions emotion before expression. They examine bias before opinion. They consider the consequences of every statement. The goal is not to win arguments, but to preserve truth. This detachment from emotional victory keeps communication precise. Every conversation becomes practice for philosophy. The Stoic measures the value of interaction by the insight it creates. Trivial topics are abandoned quickly. Meaningful ones are explored deeply. They learn to lead discussions toward understanding, not distraction. Their influence spreads quietly through the quality of their reasoning. To increase intelligence in speech, the Stoic studies words as tools of thought. Reading philosophy, history, and logic expands vocabulary with purpose. Each new term refines perception. As vocabulary grows, so does awareness. Words become lenses through which the world is understood. Seneca advised, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." The Stoic extends this to conversation. They seek dialogue that challenges, not flatters. They avoid echo chambers and pursue debate with thinkers who sharpen logic. Through friction, understanding deepens. Reflection strengthens articulation. Writing thoughts daily disciplines clarity. The act of transforming thought into text exposes confusion and solidifies logic. The Stoic reviews these writings to detect patterns, emotional bias, intellectual laziness, or verbal excess. Over time, speech becomes distilled and direct. To control speech is to control energy. The Stoic conserves verbal effort for high-value communication. Each conversation is treated as an investment. If it yields no understanding or progress, it ends. This boundary protects mental sharpness. In public settings, the wise speaker maintains calm delivery. They do not raise their voice to dominate. They refine tone to persuade. The Stoic knows that volume signals loss of control. Precision, not power, convinces. This principle governs teaching, leadership, and debate alike. The Stoic refrains from speaking in anger. Words spoken in haste become chains of regret. When provoked, they pause. This pause creates mastery. Anger desires release. Discipline demands stillness. The space between impulse and response becomes the mark of wisdom. To improve speech, one must purify intention. The Stoic speaks to clarify truth, not to elevate ego. They abandon sarcasm and manipulation, which corrode respect. Their language becomes transparent, clean, and direct. The listener senses integrity because no hidden motive clouds delivery. Intelligent speech demands awareness of timing. Even truth, delivered without the right moment, fails to land. The Stoic learns rhythm, the cadence of conversation, the pauses that grant weight to words. Timing turns communication into art. The disciplined speaker values brevity. They eliminate unnecessary adjectives, redundant phrases, and dramatic expressions. What remains is essence. This minimalism reflects control. Just as a sword must be sharpened by removing metal, speech must be refined by removing excess. The Stoic also knows when to remain silent in the face of ignorance. Not every argument deserves an answer. Silence denies validation to folly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The wise speaker preserves peace by choosing silence as superiority. When they do speak, the Stoic aligns words with virtue. Their tone carries reason. Their message carries principle. They speak truth without cruelty and instruction without pride. Every phrase reinforces integrity. This alignment between thought, speech, and action is the essence of wisdom. The mind that governs speech must remain disciplined in listening. To speak well, one must first hear truth in others, even when disguised. The Stoic listens for structure in arguments, tone in delivery, and motive behind emotion. They learn not only from agreement, but from contradiction. Clarity in speech mirrors clarity in being. The Stoic does not complicate simple truths. They remove ornamentation and reveal essence. This approach reflects the larger philosophy of life. Eliminate what is unnecessary so that what remains is pure and strong. When intelligence governs speech, words become tools of construction. They build understanding, connection, and trust. The Stoic uses speech as a form of service, to inform, to guide, to elevate. They avoid rhetoric that manipulates emotion for gain. Their persuasion rests on reason and character. The wise speaker also understands the cost of misunderstanding. They take responsibility for clarity. If the listener misinterprets, the Stoic rephrases without frustration. Communication is not victory, it is transmission of truth. Patience becomes as vital as precision. Speech mastery requires continual humility. The Stoic knows that intelligence is refined through correction. They welcome feedback and study language with curiosity. Every conversation becomes a chance to polish understanding. There is no final mastery, only continuous refinement. As the mind strengthens, so does speech. The Stoic's presence shifts. Others notice how few words they use, how measured their responses are, and how sharp their reasoning remains under pressure. Their silence commands as much respect as their speech. The ultimate measure of wisdom in speech is peace. The individual who speaks truth without agitation, who persuades without force, and who corrects without humiliation, embodies mastery. Their communication reflects harmony between intellect and virtue. To become unrecognizable in speech is to replace reaction with reflection. Every word must justify its existence. Every silence must hold purpose. The Stoic who reaches this level no longer seeks to be heard. They seek to be understood, and understanding begins with restraint. In this way, the Stoic's words become architecture, clean lines, solid foundations, enduring form. They build not noise but meaning, and when they choose silence, it is not absence but presence, the sound of wisdom that needs no echo. Discipline begins with subtraction. Every vice removed from life is a gate open towards strength. The Stoic does not chase improvement by adding distractions disguised as progress. They refine by removal. Purification is not denial, it is liberation. The fewer impulses that control the body, the clearer the mind becomes. This clarity is not achieved through indulgence, but through mastery. The modern world rewards consumption. Every screen, every advertisement, every voice encourages excess. Pleasure has been industrialized, and weakness has become normalized. The Stoic stands in opposition to this current. They do not drift, they design. Their days are structured with intention, each hour shielded from waste. This structure is not rigid, it is sacred. The mind must know where its energy is going before the world decides for it. The first act of purification is restraint from intoxication. Alcohol dulls perception and weakens command. The Stoic may choose moderation for ceremony or companionship, but never dependence. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Intoxication stains clarity. It replaces control with confusion, wisdom with impulse. The disciplined individual does not require escape. They face reality sober, alert, and exact. Entertainment, when excessive, becomes corrosion. The Stoic does not despise art or film, but understands the danger of passive consumption. Streaming hours drain focus and fragment the attention span. What enters the eyes enters the mind. The Stoic filters this intake carefully. They may study a film for meaning, but they do not binge for comfort. Comfort is the enemy of command. Video games, social media, and endless scrolling are not leisure. They are anesthesia. They sedate ambition and scatter thought into fragments. The Stoic removes them or restricts them to strict boundaries. A single hour of aimless consumption costs days of focus. Every scroll teaches the mind to crave stimulation rather than reflection. The Stoic reverses this conditioning. They trade dopamine for discipline. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom is not indulgence, but control. The unrecognizable person understands that entertainment designed for dependency is not recreation, it is erosion. Each digital distraction dulls the edge of awareness. They do not reject technology, they repurpose it. The same device that enslaves can also educate. The difference lies in discipline. Food follows the same law. Pleasure without restraint leads to decay. The Stoic treats food as fuel, not sedation. They do not eat to escape boredom or emotion. They eat to sustain precision. Gluttony is an ancient weakness disguised as modern convenience. The unrecognizable individual studies their consumption. They eliminate what numbs and keep what strengthens. A clean body houses a clear mind. The connection between physical and mental health is direct. A disordered diet creates a disordered mind. The Stoic treats training and nutrition as moral duties. They do not worship appearance but respect functionality. A strong body does not guarantee wisdom, but it eliminates excuses. Fitness becomes philosophy in motion, proof that consistency produces clarity. Minimalism in consumption expands mental space. The Stoic keeps few possessions, but all of them serve a purpose. Clutter is not limited to objects. It exists in habits, thoughts, and relationships. Every excess requires attention. Every unnecessary connection drains energy. To become unrecognizable, one must declutter existence itself. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." The Stoic applies this to attention. Fragmented focus weakens the will. They choose depth over volume, mastery over variety. The fewer things they commit to, the more power they bring to each. They would rather read one book deeply than skim 100. They would rather perfect one routine than juggle 10. To remove bad habits is to confront comfort directly. Every vice serves as an escape from responsibility. The Stoic does not shame the self, but studies it. They ask, what purpose does this indulgence serve? What discomfort am I avoiding? Through this interrogation, they expose the lie beneath each addiction. Once exposed, it loses power. The body follows the mind structure. Exercise becomes non-negotiable. It is not for vanity, but vitality. Each repetition, each mile, each controlled breath reaffirms command. The Stoic uses physical strain to purify emotion. Fatigue replaces anxiety. Strength replaces doubt. A trained body is a silent argument against weakness. Sleep becomes a tool of strategy. The Stoic respects recovery as much as exertion. They rise early because dawn is uncontested time. The early hours contain silence, space to think before the world begins to pull. Late nights of entertainment are traded for early mornings of clarity. This shift alone separates the average from the ascendant. Social media becomes a controlled environment, not an open addiction. The Stoic uses it to learn, to share, to connect, but never to escape. They set clear boundaries: input, output, exit. Endless scrolling is not curiosity, it is paralysis. They do not consume the lives of others, they construct their own. The mind that feeds on triviality becomes trivial. The Stoic replaces entertainment with education, gossip with reflection, and outrage with action. They select information as a soldier selects weapons. Only what strengthens reasoning is allowed in. This discipline transforms the mind into an instrument of clarity. The unrecognizable person learns that pleasure is not the goal of life. It is the test of life. To experience pleasure without being owned by it is power. They enjoy beauty without attachment, comfort without dependence. They can indulge without decay, because every indulgence is conscious and measured. Physical training is a daily ritual of alignment. The Stoic lifts not just weight, but the burden of apathy. They run not to escape, but to confront themselves. Sweat becomes prayer, endurance becomes meditation. The body becomes a living metaphor for philosophy, resilient, precise, calm under strain. Through control of the body, the mind sharpens. Blood flow increases focus, strength deepens patience. The Stoic experiences direct cause and effect between movement and mindset. Lethargy dulls insight, movement renews it. The disciplined body creates disciplined thought. The removal of indulgence reveals identity. When distraction ends, truth surfaces. The Stoic confronts this truth without disguise. It may reveal boredom, insecurity, or fear, but it also reveals potential. What once hid behind entertainment now stands exposed, ready to be shaped into strength. Every temptation resisted builds internal capital. Each moment of restraint compounds into confidence. This compounding effect is the hidden mathematics of mastery. The Stoic understands that the cost of small indulgences is large weakness. They trade temporary pleasure for permanent stability. Moderation becomes their law. Extremes are unsustainable. The Stoic does not reject all pleasure, they govern it. They create schedules for recreation, boundaries for consumption, and priorities for attention. By doing so, they enjoy without excess and live without regret. In removing bad habits, the Stoic reclaims time. Hours once wasted on screens, intoxication, or idleness become investments in learning, movement, or silence. Time is the only true wealth. Each recovered hour compounds into opportunity, skill, and self-respect. The discipline of abstaining from excess sharpens presence. The Stoic no longer drifts between impulses. They act from order. Their day follows rhythm. Rise, train, learn, act, reflect, rest. Within this structure, creativity flourishes because distraction no longer fragments attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The Stoic applies this to every indulgence. External pleasures cannot command internal peace. Control begins at the level of choice. Every refusal to indulge strengthens command of self. Through abstinence, the senses regain sensitivity. Food tastes sharper, music feels deeper, nature appears richer. Pleasure purified through restraint becomes appreciation rather than dependency. This is how the Stoic transforms denial into gratitude. A healthy body sustains a healthy mind. The Stoic trains not to display power, but to sustain clarity. Weakness of the body invites weakness of will. Strength of the body reinforces discipline of mind. Health becomes moral armor, defense against lethargy and self-neglect. Each small decision builds identity. Choosing water over alcohol, a walk over a binge, reflection over scrolling, these are invisible victories. The unrecognizable person lives by these quiet triumphs. They do not need reward. The reward is the stability they create. Over time, restraint becomes natural. The temptations that once ruled lose their appeal. The Stoic no longer resists, they simply do not desire. Freedom matures into indifference toward indulgence. The pleasures of the world remain, but they no longer command attention. This purified state is not dull, it is powerful. Focus becomes a form of peace. Energy once scattered across indulgence consolidates into purpose. Every action becomes deliberate, every decision clean. This simplicity is rare because it requires sacrifice. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The Stoic lives by this truth. They reduce craving until only clarity remains. What they own, they master. What they remove, they do not miss. To eliminate bad habits is to choose sovereignty over surrender. The individual becomes the architect of their attention, diet, and desire. They live on principles rather than impulses. Their peace no longer depends on moderation from the world. It is enforced by will. When indulgence ends, purpose accelerates. Focus compounds. Health stabilizes. Energy rises. The Stoic feels the difference daily. A body in harmony with a disciplined mind. This alignment becomes visible in posture, tone, and presence. Others sense it immediately, but cannot replicate it without sacrifice. Through removal, the Stoic gains expansion. Less consumption means more perception. Less indulgence means more energy. Less distraction means more intelligence. Each act of subtraction becomes an act of addition in disguise. Simplicity reveals power. This is the paradox of restraint. By choosing less, the Stoic becomes limitless. Each refusal becomes a declaration of command. Each boundary builds freedom. In this discipline of removal lies transformation, the kind that turns a drifting individual into an unrecognizable force of composure and control. Dominion is not control over others. It is control over the self, so complete that the world bends around it without resistance. The Stoic understands that permanence is not achieved through force, but through alignment. When mind, body, and will operate as one, existence becomes unshakable. The individual no longer fights to maintain order, they are order. This is the state of dominion, sovereignty of thought, command of emotion, and mastery of action. Every discipline, every sacrifice, every repetition was preparation for this point. The Stoic no longer trains to improve, they train to sustain. Their structure is complete, yet constantly alive. They maintain the system not from insecurity, but from reverence. The disciplined life is sacred because it proves that chaos can be shaped into meaning. Permanence begins where maintenance becomes devotion. The world continues to shift. Fortune rises and falls. People praise and condemn. Seasons of ease turn to hardship. Yet the Stoic remains identical. They do not rise with applause or fall with insult. Their equilibrium is no longer conditional. This constancy is not indifference. It is strength matured into calm. The unrecognizable person has reached the stage where reaction no longer exists, only response. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Dominion begins and ends with this realization. External events no longer possess weight because they no longer decide emotion. The mind interprets, and interpretation is power. Freedom is not the absence of difficulty, but the mastery of perception within it. Permanence is not achieved through ambition, it is achieved through continuity. The Stoic moves through days without variation in principle. Success does not soften them, failure does not harden them. They have transcended the volatility of extremes. Each sunrise meets the same posture, each night closes with the same reflection. This consistency is the signature of command. Dominion is awareness without disturbance. The Stoic walks through crowds and noise as though surrounded by silence. Their focus is not external, it radiates inward. They engage with the world, yet remain unentangled by it. They can be in the storm and still be the calm. To reach this level, one must no longer identify with struggle or comfort, victory or defeat. Identity fuses with principle, not condition. The disciplined person reaches permanence when discipline ceases to feel like effort. Routine becomes rhythm, will becomes instinct. Each decision aligns so naturally that deviation no longer tempts. What was once practice becomes personality. This is how mastery becomes nature. Dominion is invisible to those who seek spectacle. It manifests not in dominance, but in precision. The Stoic speech, movement and choices are simple, exact, and final. They do not waste energy proving capability. They demonstrate it through execution. Power is quiet because it no longer needs to be declared. Seneca wrote, "The greatest empire is to be emperor of oneself." Dominion is that empire, without borders, without dependency. The Stoic rules not through expansion, but through compression. Everything unnecessary is removed until only essence remains. This reduction creates limitless capacity. The fewer things the individual needs, the more unbreakable they become. Permanence is sustained by renewal. The Stoic does not rely on static perfection. Each day is recalibration. Reflection restores alignment, and gratitude keeps arrogance at distance. The structure of discipline remains flexible yet firm. Like a living organism, it adapts to pressure but never loses form. Dominion is not found in perfection, but in recovery. When distraction strikes, the Stoic returns quickly. When fatigue arrives, they adjust pace without losing rhythm. Their strength lies in return speed. Failure becomes momentary because correction is immediate. The system never collapses, it self-corrects. To live in permanence is to accept the impermanence of all else. The Stoic sees that people, possessions, and outcomes are transient. They remain invested in duty, not in guarantee. This detachment anchors serenity. The external may fall, but the internal cannot because it rests on chosen principle. The unrecognizable individual no longer fears regression. They have eliminated the conditions that create collapse, dependence, inconsistency, and indulgence. Their system is immune to chaos because it was designed with it in mind. Every element of their life serves stability. Every decision strengthens foundation. The result is a life that does not break. It bends and reforms without loss of core. In this stage, purpose becomes identity. The Stoic no longer seeks meaning. They embody it. Their existence is the message. When they speak, words carry the weight of lived philosophy. When they act, action follows law. Their presence teaches more than instruction could. This is the quiet authority of permanence. Dominion also means restraint. To rule oneself is to master permission. The Stoic grants themselves nothing that weakens, no matter how small. They deny indulgence not from denial, but from respect for clarity. They know how easily the fortress falls when one door is left open. Self-control is not suppression, it is protection. The permanent individual no longer lives reactively. They anticipate without anxiety. Their mind runs systems of reason, not impulses of fear. They do not need reassurance because they have already decided who they are. That decision is final. Confidence is no longer emotion, it is structure. Through dominion, relationships change. The Stoic no longer clings or repels. They remain steady. They can love without losing control and walk away without bitterness. Every bond is chosen, never needed. This independence makes connection purer. Freedom strengthens affection because it removes possession. Permanence also redefines success. Achievement becomes expression, not compensation. The Stoic acts from fullness, not emptiness. They create, lead, and serve because it is their nature, not their escape. Accomplishment is no longer escape from inadequacy. It is proof of integration. The body reflects this dominion. Movement is efficient, posture straight, energy calm. The trained body does not boast. It radiates readiness. Every action demonstrates control of self. The body becomes the silent companion of the mind's discipline. Together, they project balance and quiet strength. Dominion over emotion does not mean numbness. It means proportion. Joy and sorrow are experienced, but never exaggerated. The Stoic allows both, but neither dictate behavior. Emotion becomes signal, not command. This equanimity confuses the undisciplined because they mistake composure for detachment. In truth, it is depth stabilized by understanding. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." Dominion requires urgency without haste. The Stoic acts with full intention each day because they understand time is the only resource that cannot be renewed. Every day spent in alignment is immortality in motion. In permanence, the Stoic transcends the need for validation. They no longer seek to prove virtue, they live it. Recognition from others becomes irrelevant. Legacy, if it comes, is a side effect of precision, not ambition. They do not strive to be remembered, they strive to be real. The final expression of dominion is serenity. The mind no longer battles itself. The heart no longer negotiates with weakness. The will no longer wavers. Existence flows through discipline, not against it. This state is not excitement, but equilibrium, peace that carries momentum. Permanence does not isolate. It liberates. The Stoic can move freely through the world, engaging deeply yet remaining untied. Their power is not withdrawal, but presence. They participate fully in life without being absorbed by it. The world's instability no longer dictates internal state. The individual who reaches this point carries an aura of inevitability. Their words feel final, their actions clean, their silence full. They have become a law unto themselves, a standard so exact that it cannot be shaken by circumstance. This is dominion made visible. Seneca wrote, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by prosperity." The Stoic is deceived by neither. They remain the same in both. Prosperity tests restraint. Misfortune tests endurance. Passing both tests creates unbreakable equilibrium. Permanence in identity is achieved when every decision, habit, and thought align under one principle: act in accordance with reason. The Stoic repeats this law until it replaces instinct. At that moment, philosophy becomes physiology. They no longer remember what it was like to live undisciplined. Dominion radiates through simplicity. The Stoic no longer needs complex systems to maintain order. They have internalized the structure. Simplicity becomes sophistication. Each choice flows directly from principle without debate. This effortless precision defines mastery. The permanent individual becomes a still point in a moving world. They observe change without instability, handle power without pride, and endure solitude without emptiness. Their peace is not the absence of conflict, it is control within it. In this synthesis, all previous lessons converge. Solitude forged awareness, discipline built foundation, detachment protected clarity, reflection maintained balance. Together they formed dominion, the permanent state of inner sovereignty that no external condition can corrupt. The Stoic no longer seeks transformation because they have become the standard. They move with quiet certainty. They speak rarely, but when they do, it carries the weight of alignment. They work not to improve but to continue, knowing that continuation itself is excellence. The unrecognizable person stands at this point complete yet humble. They understand that mastery is not ownership, it is stewardship. They protect their principles the way a guardian protects light from wind. Discipline becomes devotion. Devotion becomes identity. This is the culmination of the Stoic path. Not victory over the world, but peace within it. A calm that does not depend on silence. Strength that does not depend on struggle. Clarity that does not depend on solitude. The Stoic remains constant, composed, and unmovable. They have reached dominion, the quiet power that neither fades nor needs to be seen.